journey, some of us from Notre Dame as part of the faculty, adjuncts, some of the staff, administration, to support a mission that we believe in. And specifically, we wanted to talk about that mission as it relates to business. Because love and forgiveness, we would submit, is good for business. So, who was John Fetzer? Fetzer Institute, the name of Fetzer wine. Who was this guy? Well, first and foremost, he was a businessman and a very successful one. He is a real pioneer in the broadcasting, radio, and TV industry, but he was also a lifelong seeker. He wanted to seek fulfillment. The world during his life was becoming bigger, more dangerous. The Cold War, nuclear war potentially, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and on and on and on. But there have been examples where people have been able to change the course of human behavior and create a more loving and safe world. It was Gandhi who said that we can never forgive. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, said Martin Luther King. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive, said the Dalai Lama. And the Lord never tires of changing, said our new Pope Francis. But sometimes it's we who tire of asking for forgiveness. And John Fetzer said, love is the key ingredient that holds us all together. Now, I know here at Notre Dame, we're not, we don't want to be preaching to the choir. Because at Notre Dame and at Mendoza, love and compassion are part of the DNA of what we teach here. So I take a look at what has happened here, and I take a look at even at our own Mendoza and on the website, and this is a quote about asking more of business. Dare to ask more, dare to do more, to use the power of business for the greater good. So it's a mission statement that we're all conscious of here. Can business help transform the world? And those of us who've been involved in this journey with the Fetzer Institute believe business not only can, business must. So we're not here tonight to preach, but I want to share with you some stats. A lot of good is being done in this world, but so much more needs to be done. Over 50% of the world, 3 billion people, live on less than $2.50 a day. At least 80% live on less than $10 a day. According to UNICEF, 22,000 children will die daily from starvation. Nearly 1 billion people enter the new millennium not able to read or write. More than 1.1 billion people lack clean water. 2.6 billion people lack basic sanitation. And you add all this, the chaos and the hate that is created by extremists, some of them coming from and products of that. Some may feel that there's an injustice and inequity in the world. Well, is there? Yeah, there is. In 2005, if you take a look, according to the World Bank, at the share of consumption, the richest 20% of the world represented 76% of the world's consumption. The middle 60% represented only 21%. The world's poorest people, 20% of the population of the world represented less than 2% of the world's consumption. There are the haves and there are the have-nots. There's a lot of other challenges out there in this world too. 27 million people plus are enslaved worldwide. More than 1 million children a year are taken into slavery. Sex slavery. Sex slavery and prostitution is a $32 billion business. 40 million people live with HIV and AIDS, and 300 to 350 million cases of malaria are reported annually. There's more that has to be done. Who can do it? Who's got the capacity to do it? Business does. And our challenge of business was to find exemplars who personified love and forgiveness in the DNA of their business, or who utilized the profits of their business to do good deeds. Then to be able to seek them out. For those who don't need the money, that are major corporations, all right, to hold them up as exemplars for other major corporations to follow. For those who are startup businesses or social entrepreneurs, to help fund them. We don't have any false suppositions that things are going to change overnight. John Fetzer thought, gosh, this could be a 400-year mission. It could be a long mission. But Confucius said a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step at a time. We can change human behavior, not just by giving money for business, not just by having empathy, which is a feeling of sorrow for somebody who's in a bad state, but through compassion. Compassion is taking those feelings of sorrow and doing something about it to relieve the sorrow or pain of the person about whom you feel the passion. So, NGOs, non-government, how important are they? They're so critical. These are nonprofit organizations that are committed to doing good. And they get a lot of their money from foundations, government grants, from things, and they get some money from business. And I would submit to you that business has a responsibility to seek out those NGOs that are aligned with the mission that they find most important to them and really help them achieve their mission. And here to talk about the work of the NGO Council of Fetzer is no better than the gentleman who brought me into Fetzer in the first place. He's the director of our nonprofit professional development program, Tom Harvey. Tom?
I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. When I was a very young child, the Second World War was on, and 28% of all the steel in the world, both sides of the war, came from within 50 miles of downtown Pittsburgh. If you go to Pittsburgh today, that's virtually gone. And when I was a youngster, just the Catholic school system had several 100,000 children. The city was so young, with large families and with a lot of hopes and dreams. Today, Pittsburgh is the second largest gerontological city or geriatric city in the United States because the opportunities have changed. Because the United States in the 60s, 70s, and 80s went through a major shift in its economy from an economic manufacturing base to a service base. And that particularly had a powerful effect on the dislocated. Alcoholism, separation, divorce, child abuse, all grow in that environment of discouragement and despair. So we were put in a position to pick up pieces and to feed and shelter people that were dislocated, but never really given the opportunity to talk. Maybe you should slow down that closing. Maybe we could work with you as that time went on. So here in this Fetzer project, we have a wonderful opportunity to teach that it shouldn't be over here are business decisions and over here are the opportunity to help people who have been hurt by these decisions. It's just a wonderful opportunity, I think, for our society to have another catalyst that encourages it to ask some of these questions in new ways. And I just thank Fetzer for being one of those catalytic forces to make us do so. But the message for today is, don't overlook the possibilities that existing NGOs can have, or ones that may be created because of the passion that you or others, and even corporations do, because they do set up nonprofit corporations to accomplish certain tasks. I could give other points, but that's not my purpose. My purpose tonight is just to affirm what the Business Council is trying to do by creating these opportunities to get people to think beyond what's rewarding them personally, to rise above personal hurts and reach out to the people with the greatest need. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Tom. Business. Let's talk a bit about business specifically, the Business Professions Council. So that's our team when we're over in Assisi, Italy. We're all about business, serious business. And I just want to highlight that David Murphy, who is the head of our Entrepreneurship and Esteem program, is here, an incredible social entrepreneur who took over for the founders from Notre Dame of Better World Books as the CEO and built it into a 60 million plus business doing good. Compassion and love is in the DNA of his business. Matt Bloom, who teaches innovation here, among other things. Professor, just an amazing guy, helped us so much along the way with our mission. And the unbelievable Lee Tavis, who's a professor emeritus of finance here, still bringing amazing new, fresh ideas to us young bucks who are only 60 years old. And then Sharif Azami, who's our program officer. So we were 12 people that sought out opportunities in businesses and new initiatives around the world to try to see if we could find some good examples. And one of the organizations that we funded is not unlike what Tom talked about, an organization called the Middle East Justice and Development Initiative, an organization that conducts tours of the Holy Land, jointly run by Palestinian and Jewish youth, to tell both narratives, to tell both stories as a way to try to be able to produce some healing for those. Again, one tour at a time, one tourist at a time.
It's very important for us because of the visibility that we got and because of the network that we reach with the World Tourism Organization, which mentors Mejdi Tours.
It's an innovative approach for learning about the Middle East that highlights the different narratives of Israelis and Palestinians from a variety of cultural, political, and religious backgrounds.
The dual narrative tour that I'm experiencing today is fascinating, being able to experience two opinions and two visions in one moment.
The award selects and supports the most innovative grassroots projects that encourage intercultural dialogue around the world, again in 2012.
Business creates the wealth of the world. I wanted to try to wrap my arms around it, but does it really? So do we really have the chance to make the greatest difference? The gross domestic product combined of all the countries in the world in 2011 was $70 trillion. The U.S. led it with $15 trillion. The top 100 U.S.-based foundations had combined assets of about $250 billion in 2012. About $15 billion of that money was dispersed for worthwhile causes. There were also community foundations. Tom alluded to them. The largest foundation is the Gates Foundation, created obviously by an incredibly successful businessman and company and group of people, Bill Gates. $34 billion in assets. And I love what he said. He said that we believe that every person deserves a chance to live a healthy, productive life. We believe that business has a responsibility to help those in the world who need it most to lead a healthy, productive life. So let me share with you the 23-minute video that we produced.
John Fetzer was a visionary, a pioneer, and an entrepreneur. He was a very successful businessman. He used his businesses to serve the public, but he also had a stronger, more authentic inner spiritual call. And he used that call then to seed the John Fetzer Institute that served as a platform for others to join in this global transformation.
Gandhi once said that there's plenty in this world to satisfy mankind's need, but not his greed. You won't find the words love and forgiveness in many boardrooms around the world, but there are many businesses, from social entrepreneurs to major corporations, who are exemplifying compassion and love and forgiveness. We hold these up for everyone to be able to learn from, and we ask for everyone in the business world to join this effort, because it really is going to be the only way that our world will survive.
For us at Novartis, our mission is to care and to cure. If there's an unmet medical need and we have a way to either cure or to treat that disease, we're going to do it. It's in the DNA of the company.
Leprosy starts as a discolorated spot on your skin. People are afraid of of the disease because it has such drastic results, physical results. It is a picture that raises fear. You see, people have clawed hands. There are a lot of people who do not have hands anymore, who do not have feet anymore. It is a scary picture.
You have to look at it and you have to say, yes, this is a horrible disease, which is why we have to redouble our efforts and ensure that anybody that could potentially contract leprosy, we have to help them.
But we have multiple drug therapy that all of a sudden the disease could be cured, and this gives us a special responsibility. So in 1985 we started the Leprosy Fund, and the issue that was coming up very quickly is how do we find the patients? The patients in the old approach were either expected to come forward and present themselves, or there was active house-to-house search for cases. But then, if you are afraid that people know that you have this disease, you will hide even in such a case. We started with a marketing approach with the sense of leprosy can be cured. It was very successful in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was the first country, and it was later on repeated in many other countries. So we changed in a way the approach of how the disease is perceived and how you find the patients. Leprosy is a huge opportunity for corporate philanthropy, as Novartis is doing.
This is a great example of a tragic disease in which Novartis has a cure, and we choose to distribute it free of cost and organize the right stakeholders to ensure that we get that product to those patients.
In the early 1980s, the statistics on leprosy were around 10 million, and the fear was that there would be up to 15 million leprosy patients. Today we have the disease that worldwide only about 250,000 people are suffering of, so it has been a fantastic success.
I think that it's one of the greatest success stories in the history of public health. But when you take a disease down to the level where there are fewer and fewer cases, it gets harder and harder to identify those cases.
Very often, the last mile is the most difficult. But I am very confident that we can eradicate leprosy from the face of the earth. It might take 5 years, it might take 10 years, but it's feasible and it will be done.
What we see in common in all of these cases is that the individual becomes inspired. Any number of inner pathways leads them to that awareness, that awakening. And connecting that awakening to action then leads to culture change in an organization.
If businesses can operate out of love and forgiveness and compassion, they can truly change the world, and they can truly make a difference that political system, economic system, or the educational system cannot make. The wise corporations are the ones that are leveraging not only their dedicated business development and sales people, but actually their entire ecosystem to fall in love with who they are.
There's almost 1 billion illiterate people on the planet today, 1/7 of the world's population. Every single study on illiteracy directly links it to problems of women's health, environmental degradation, poverty, the list goes on and on and on. We felt that the key to breaking the cycle of poverty really starts with being literate. And we decided to create a for-profit business that was fundamentally going to change people's lives, including our own. We put a for-profit company together, collected millions of books from a variety of different sources, sold them on the internet. We've now become the third largest online seller of used books in the world. In doing this, we created a triple bottom line company. We created an organization here that cares much more than just the single-threaded focus on profit. And every time a book sells, we take a percentage of the sale price, not the profit, the actual sales price, and it funds hundreds of literacy organizations around the world. But more importantly than that, we've made a difference in the lives of hundreds of thousands of people all over the world who never had a book, never had somebody read to them, never had an opportunity to become literate. But at the end of the day, this really comes down to how we're making a difference in the life of a child, an adult who's never been able to read. Whether it's on the streets of Los Angeles or in Africa, Better World Books is there. Better World Books is providing a means of hope and inspiration, one book at a time, one child at a time.
Our true nature is love. By going inside, we connect to love and become moved to serve. Businesses that serve actually have tremendous benefits. They strengthen their brands, and they become employers of choice. And in today's connected world, the public knows whether you're walking your talk.
There's already a lot of distrust of business. After the most recent economic crisis, even more distrust of business. I believe that it has to start at the top, and there are CEOs who want to work for a company. They want to run a company that's doing good. You know, they personally are, I mean, they're young CEOs, right, who also have the same kind of, they've grown up with the same kind of sensitivity and commitment to making a difference. And we want to make a difference. We have a long way to go, but I think all of that together can bring about some changes.
I have a home in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And there's a path that goes all the way around the lake. And I wanted the path by my property to be very special. I started out as a waitress. I was a single mom, no education, but I had core beliefs of love and forgiveness and service. I eventually went on to open up my own company. Little did I know at that time that those three basic principles that I learned as a waitress would make my company, New Age Transportation, explode with great profits, tremendous customers. Through the good fortune of what has come through my company, we have been able to do so many wonderful things. We started the Expect a Miracle Foundation, helping thousands of children of single parents. We've been able to help people of Katrina. We've been able to help the soldiers in Iraq. The Believe Project, this is what happened. I was at a school. I was at my granddaughter's school. And there was a woman in front of me as we were waiting in line who was telling this complete stranger that her daughter had died. And she now had her granddaughter to raise. And meanwhile, here's my granddaughter. She's coming up. Grandma, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And so I said, all right, just get 3 things. Well, now her granddaughter came. And she said, Grandma, I think I've got enough for the $15. I've got a pen, I've got this, I've got that. And I wanted so badly to say, let me buy that for you. Let me do it. And I didn't have the courage. So it hit me, wow, we need to start this project. And we called it the Believe Project. So we put $100 in an envelope with all these motivational cards. So when you're in a situation like that, where you see, I really want to help, but I don't have the courage, you could certainly give them the envelope. Because I believe the more you give, the more you're going to get. When I bought this home and I put inspirational messages on a fence, I had no idea that people were going to show up and leave a piece of themselves here on this path. Ring that bell. Miracles do happen. Miracles can happen to anybody.
As John Fetzer once said, love is the core energy that rules everything. Love is the one ingredient that holds us all together.
It's not rocket science. We all know at the end of the day what's the right thing to do. It has not to do with we all have to become monks or holy people. No, we just have to do what we think ought to be done if we mean well. But it's the basic conviction, maybe value, that those who have broader shoulders should carry more. Those who have the skills, those who have the knowledge, those who have the resources, have an ethical duty. There is an African saying that if 1,000 small people in 1,000 small places would change 1,000 small things, it would change the face of the world. And I think that's the philosophy we ought to take. Our own individual actions or non-actions might be small, might be considered to be insignificant. If it becomes fashion, if it becomes sexy, if it becomes a trend, that will change.
When a disabled youth is born in a poor family in a village in India, this means a life of suffering and great despair.
You don't have any future. You live dependent life for rest of your life, and because you are not a wage earner to support the family, you are an extra mouth to feed. So in some respects, you are given a life sentence with no future at all. Meera Shenoy decided to do something about it, and she created Youth for Jobs for that purpose.
What we do is locate disabled boys and girls in the villages. We talk to them, we talk to their parents, and we actually tell them what is possible. We bring them to Hyderabad and enroll them into a database of unemployed youth. This group of people are the most disadvantaged of the disadvantaged, the most vulnerable among the poor. And yet, they have abilities. We train them and we give them jobs. We ask companies to hire our youth not out of pity, but because it makes business sense. parents cannot believe that their disabled boy and girl, whom they thought was useless, can actually get a quality job. These are very good employees. They work harder, productivity is greater, and attrition is also less.
What Meera Shenoy is doing is coming out of her heart, out of her commitment to not let the suffering that she saw to spread. In her own way, she is manifesting love.
So it's actually a win-win for all. A win-win for the youth because it means he's no longer languishing at the village unemployed. A win-win for the company because they get a loyal, dedicated workforce. And for the family because the youth is now sending back a part of his savings home. It's a win-win for us because we are doing work which we believe in and work which transforms suffering into great joy.
If you just look at society, you see it's changing. You know, in the past, society was quite happy for business to be the productive base of our society. But society is now saying, no, business is so important in our society that we've got to have them take on a broader role. We've got to have them start paying attention to what it is we want. When we talk about social responsibility, society will tell you what society wants. The key is you've got to listen.
There is a transformative power when you really go to love and forgiveness as being important aspects of who you are as a person and as a business. And the business community, the business professions, we've got the resources and the ability to be able to make a difference.
And there are clearly people all over the world who care, and they always have. I mean, this isn't anything new, but they haven't always been able to bring that to the workplace, and they haven't always been given the freedom to exercise that as part of their business. I see people inside corporations who are driving this. Maybe often it's the CEO, but often it's different, at different management levels. People inside corporations who feel like the company can do better and who believe that the company can be successful while it is also responsible to the environment, to its employees, to communities. And so there's definitely a shift taking place.
If you look for the financial perspective only, you will not do a lot of things for the planet and the people that are the right things to do, despite the fact that they cost money and do not bring money in the short term. This is why this triple bottom line is so important. It's profit, planet, and people. It's not profit, profit, and profit. And what that means at the end of the day is that you have to achieve a profit, that's not at question. The question is, what were the means with which you achieved the profit?
In some respects, businesses are recognizing focusing on their own interest, their own profitability, leaving the society behind does not work. Focusing on becoming smarter and smarter with the products and solutions is not going to get you anywhere. At some level, you have to dial down the smartness, you have to become wise. What society is demanding of businesses is that they engage people, not just their hands, not just their heads, but also the heart and spirit of who we are have to be engaged.
What society is saying is, love me and mine, and engage me and mine. I want you to reflect me, because underneath all of this is love and forgiveness.
When I think of it, there is no more powerful force in the world that has the potential to do good than business. Business creates the wealth of the world.
Can you imagine what would happen if all of business will respond to this call of love from society? If all of business would take this on, can you imagine how we could change the world?
So if you think about it, there are companies that are doing it, and we hold them up as exemplars. Many of these are B corporations, of which Better World Books is a B corporation, which is a certain classification where their whole DNA is involved in doing good and being recognized for that. There's a company like Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, I was privileged to work for, that dedicate 5% of all their profits every year, good times and bad, to corporate social responsibility initiatives. Tom Shoes, you know, you buy a pair, they give a pair. There's all kinds. Better World Books is probably the best social example out there, but Novartis Corporation, a major corporation committed to eradicating a horrible disease on the face of this earth. Those are the kinds of things that business can do. And as Lee said so eloquently, imagine what the world would be like if all business embraced this. So we believe that the business has got to shift its focus to caring, from revenge to rehabbing, from profits to people. And business has got to give more, love more, care more, and lead more. You are the future business leaders of the world. You're going to start entrepreneurships. And when you do that, think about who's going to buy from you. But much more importantly, think about why people will buy from you. I'm a disciple of a guy named Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, and he has something he discovered called the Golden Circle. Everybody knows what they do in business. Some people know how they do it, but very few businesses know why. And his premise, rooted in biology, not psychology, is that people buy what you believe, not what you're selling. You can focus all you want to in terms of what you sell, your product features and benefits, et cetera, but you're not talking to the part of the brain that makes decisions, the inner part of the brain. So we can teach about the importance of being part of a business and an entrepreneurship venture, or if you're joining a major company as a consultant or P&G or whatever, to hold this truth and hold this philosophy right from the get-go. And there's a difference between empathy and compassion. Empathy, again, is what you feel for somebody. You feel her. Compassion is doing something about it. So don't just feel empathy. Feel compassion, live compassion. Reach out and touch someone right here while you're in school. Share it with your families. Commit to practicing at work. That's our message. It's really, really simple. So we think that forgiveness is a really important part of life. We've talked to you about people that believe it, who've shared it, who've come before us, and we can either choose to listen to it or not. But Lou Holtz once said, when all is said and done, more is said than done. So I hope that you'll take this and move forward. And remember this. Remember this. Whatever you give in your life, you will get back twice in return. You will get back twice in return in some way, shape, or form. Thank you very much for